Hey, what's happening, Disney Readers? I'm Guy01, and welcome to this week's first episode on the Walkthrough channel. This week, it's the head of the table, Roman Reigns, against possibly the new head of the table, Sikoa. So we didn't have any birthdays this past week. This matchup was more about reflecting what's currently going on in the WWE storylines as of recording. But it is kind of fitting that it is two members of the Anoa'i family in this week's episode, as this past week, Wild Samoan Sikoa, Roman Reigns' father, Sikoa Anoa'i, passed away on June 25th at the age of 79. So condolences to the Anoa'i family. There's already been a ton of stuff that's, come out and said. The entire Anoa'i family, because he was one of the originals, to really be in WWE. He was one of the only Anoa'is, in his generation of it, to actually wrestle in WWE as part of the Wild Samoans. I mean, he even wrestled Dusty Rhodes back in the day, which I believe was the first time a Rhodes and a Anoa'i had actually wrestled each other, which of course continued when both of their sons, Roman and Cody, wrestled each other this past year, this past WrestleMania and the year before. So it all comes full circle. So there actually wasn't really a ton to talk about this week, especially compared to last week where we went real long with that video, which I'm sorry that the last 8 minutes of that video was just a freeze frame on Ultimate Warrior. I did not expect it to go that much longer. I thought I would be able to wrap it all up in 2 minutes after that point, but yeah, I was not able to. But anyway, let's get into Raw. Braun Breaker faced Ludwig Kaiser. The match ended when Sheamus attacked Braun, causing a DQ, getting revenge against Imperium for interfering in his match last week. Didn't turn out too well for Sheamus, though, as Braun then attacked him and laid him out in order to close out the segment. Lyra Valkyria beat Kairi Sane and Shayna Baszler to qualify for the Women's Money in the Bank. Chad Gable beat Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed to qualify for Money in the Bank as well, which is a very fitting thing for him. I don't see him winning, especially considering who ends up qualifying later in the week, but we'll get into that later. After he wins, Nikki Cross then comes out in her full costume, Wyatt Six costume, and delivers a VHS to Michael Cole at ringside, something that would not come into play until later in the show, which is weird that they waited that long to, play it. Felt like they could have just, changed the order that they did certain things, so they could either have the Chad Gable match later, so that way Nikki Cross could come out later, or just have her come out during another match. I don't know, it felt a little weird that they waited so long to actually play this thing. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire. Isla Dawn and Alba Fire beat Chance and Carter after the match. After the match, Damage Control came out and attacked the Women's Tag Team Champions. I'm on. Ow. Oh no. Ow. Oh god. And he's already busted open. That was quick. Man, Roman wrestles stiff. Seth Rollins confronted Damian Priest, continuing his challenge and the hype for their world title match at Money in the Bank. Rollins upped the stakes, however, as he set up the the stipulation that if Damian Priest loses, not only does he lose the title, but he has to leave the Judgment Day. And if Seth Rollins loses and does not win the title, he will never be allowed to challenge for the world title ever again. Now, a caveat to this I'm not entirely sure of is if he only means that specific world title, or if he just means a world title in WWE at all. So he won't be able to challenge for either one, or if it's just this one specifically. And you know what? Given how long Seth has been in WWE, I could very well see him losing and not being allowed to challenge for a title again. I mean, he's held every title in WWE. I mean, he's held the world title for almost a straight year from when it was introduced to this past WrestleMania. There's not really anything left he needs to do or prove in terms of titles and championship reigns. But also the idea of Damian Priest leaving the Judgment Day if he loses is also interesting because it feels like he's already on the verge of doing that anyway. And he even says in the promo that the Judgment Day needs him more than he needs the Judgment Day. I mean, he's the World Heavyweight Champion. So he's obviously doing pretty well on his own. So if he has him or not, it doesn't really matter. Now, if he doesn't have the world title, you know, as if he loses, or as in he loses, then now he doesn't have the title or Judgment Day, so who knows? Maybe that's not the best thing for him. And then to add on to all of this, traitor! Jimmy! Aha, gotcha. Oh, okay. That didn't look good. So yeah, and then on top of all of this, Gunther came out and confronted both of them, basically saying, it doesn't matter who wins, you're both good, whoever wins is going to end up losing to me when I challenge you for the world title at SummerSlam. Which is, you know, which is what came from him winning the King of the Ring. For those who don't know, the new thing with King of the Ring is that it's basically like a Royal Rumble thing, where you're given a guaranteed title shot against someone at SummerSlam. You know, which gives it a bit more weight to actually win King of the Ring instead of just a title that really doesn't mean anything, and sometimes getting just given a king gimmick that never, or I'll say rarely, works well or helps the wrestler. Uh-oh, I think he blocked it. Yep. Stop taunting and focus. Okay. Get him. Powerbomb. You're done for, kid. Good night. I mean, he's already done for. I don't need to do anything left or anything else. So then we get to the VHS segment where Michael Cole finally has the VHS he was given by Nikki Cross played, and what it ends up being is a sit-down interview between Bo Dallas and Uncle Howdy, which, for those of you who don't know, Uncle Howdy is played by Bo Dallas. Now, the promo itself was very good. So the promo was basically Uncle Howdy interviewing Bo Dallas, and they talk about the passing of Bray, and it's done very well. If they, play it like a very legitimate sit-down interview with, Bo talking about how his brother's death affected him, and going through that. And a cool little detail about this promo is that they filmed it in the Firefly Funhouse. It's not obvious that's the Firefly Funhouse because the lights are very dimmed, but you can see the doorway in the background between them. So it was a cool little nod to Bo's brother. But yeah, the promo stuff was just very good. And it's weird, you're almost getting sympathy for Bo Dallas as a result of it, especially since it seems the White Six are being built up to be like this dominant heel faction, where it's like they'll take out anyone. But the thing is, at the same time, it's almost they're not like a heel faction. It's more they're just like a force of nature. They're neutral, just very destructive. But you know, they're also one of the most interesting and unique acts we've seen in a while. Which in modern wrestling, anything that's unique and different is gonna be very well received and just liked more because it's different. And you know, wrestling fans are so desperate for anything different that they're gonna latch onto that more than, you know, stuff we've been getting. Into the wall with you. Karrion Kross faced Kofi Kingston backstage. The Authors of Pain attacked Xavier Woods. This distraction allowed Kross to beat Kofi Kingston. And in the main event, Miz and R-Truth faced Finn Balor and JD McDonough for the WWE. Nope. Is it the WWE? No, it's the World Tag Team titles. Liv Morgan interfered, causing a distraction, which allowed Finn Balor and McDonough to beat Miz and R-Truth and become the new World Tag Team Champions. Again, continuing this trend of Liv Morgan interfering in Judgment Day matches on their behalf. Most specifically, and so this is something that people have pointed out, interfering in their matches, specifically ones involving either Dominic or Finn Balor, which goes along with the repeated moments where we see Finn Balor being the one who's seemingly secretly meeting with Liv Morgan, or hints that he's secretly meeting with her for the past few weeks. So there's a kind of question about what's going on there, and is there some kind of secret deal that's going on between them that the other Judgment Day members don't know about. But hey, we got new tag team champions. Sorry, Miz and Truth, but it's fun while it lasts. Moving on to SmackDown, the show opened with Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton attacking the Bloodline to open the show. When we came back from commercial break, they were still in the ring, taking out security, and then they ended up being taken away by cops, who were brought out by Nick Aldis. Tiffany Stratton beat Candice LeRae. Oh, there we go. Got him that time. Beat Candice LeRae and Jade Cargill to qualify for the Women's Money in the Bank. So they're really seemingly high on Tiffany Stratton right now. I mean, how many times has Jade lost in the last, few weeks? I feel like it's been pretty often. More often than you would think she'd be losing based on, how big of a deal she was when she came in. So yeah, it's weird that she's seemingly losing so much. LA Knight beat Logan Paul and Santos Escobar to qualify for the Men's Money in the Bank, and that is the main reason why I said it was kind of fitting for Gable to win Money in the Bank, or to qualify for Money in the Bank, but then, I don't see it going anywhere because, now LA Knight's qualified, so I see him probably winning out of anyone, most likely. Only other person other than, Gable and Knight is Jey Uso. But I don't really see Jey winning being that likely either. We'll get to why I think that later. Naomi beat Indy Hartwell and Blair Davenport to qualify for the Women's Money in the Bank. It's always good to see Naomi. I think Naomi's been treated better since her return than she has been in her entire previous WWE run. I mean, she's getting a lot of opportunities and a lot of wins recently. which, you know, is good to see. And the final segment of the night was a Bloodline acknowledgement ceremony where basically Solo Sikoa rounded up every member of the Bloodline to have them acknowledge him as the new head of the table. Everyone did, except for Paul Heyman, who outright said he does not acknowledge Solo Sikoa as his tribal chief or as his head of the table. This led to the Bloodline attacking Paul Heyman and putting him through the announce table with a triple power bomb. Oh my god. Poor Paul Heyman. I mean, Paul Heyman getting put through a freaking table. That's... what? I mean, early 2000s, mid 2000s, yeah, I could see that happening, but we're in the mid 2020s. Mid 2020s, Paul Heyman just got put through a table with a triple power bomb. Holy crap. So this is interesting because now it's like, for the past few months, really ever since The Rock returned, people have been throwing around the idea of a Bloodline Civil War. But when most people kind of threw out this idea, what people were kind of thinking was going to happen would be Roman leading one side and then The Rock leading another, and then they each have their own team from the Anawahi family, you know, on their side, and be a battle between the two of them to determine who's the real head of the table, tribal chief, that whole thing. But now it seems like what it could possibly become is Roman Reigns against Solo Sikoa, which you'd have to give that advantage to Roman there, Solo. Sorry. I mean, if this match is any indication of that. So it'll be interesting to see, because now, you know, with Paul Heyman getting put through a table, this seems like a very clear indication that his allegiance is still with Roman Reigns, and this shows that Solo Sikoa will not put up with that. It's basically, you're with him or you're against him, and you will acknowledge him as the head of the table. If you acknowledge Roman, you are an enemy. So we'll see how Roman feels about that stance, potentially as soon as SummerSlam, which would be interesting. And the reason I said earlier about how I don't see Jey Uso winning Money in the Bank as that likely of a possibility is because I see him getting wrapped up into this Bloodline Civil War, being one of the original members of the Bloodline, like the original version of it. I can see him coming back and then, you know, having to be confronted with this choice. Does he side with the brother, or does he side with his cousin, who he worked with for a long time, but then basically turned against, and the whole family imploded because of him turning on Roman? And Jay's basically the catalyst to this whole thing. He's what set everything into motion, him first joining Roman and then turning on him. So I see him getting pulled into this and pulled out of that title picture and more into this Bloodline storyline. And speaking of Civil Wars, there's also been the idea thrown around of a Judgment Day Civil War. As we've seen, you know, Liv Morgan repeatedly getting involved in Judgment Day matches, but in favor of them. But she's still being very... There's still this, like, love triangle thing with her, Rhea Ripley, and Dominic Mysterio. So people are kind of saying, like, is Judgment Day going to split when it comes down to, like, Rhea coming back for revenge against Liv? Who's going to side with Rhea? Who's going to side with Liv? That kind of thing. So, a lot of interesting stories going on involving the stables in WWE, and we'll have to see where they end up going with it. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, make new videos all the time. Stay tuned for next week's Versus, and next week where we continue our LEGO Batman 3 Beyond Gotham walkthrough. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is Guy01 and the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, signing out. Bye, guys.